Trade stocks online with BDO Securities anytime, anywhere. With BDO Securities' online trading platform, you can easily open an account, do real-time funding and withdrawal, and stay updated with market insights and trade ideas. All these to help you make informed decisions as you grow and manage your wealth. Whether you're new to investing or a seasoned investor, BDO Securities will give you access to a comprehensive stock market experience. Visit www.bdo.com.ph/securities to open an account today.
All right. What's up, everybody? And good evening. What's up? What's up? Happy, what day is the day? Happy Thursday. Tama, happy Thursday to everyone. Good evening, guys. As always, please comment down below if clear yung audio ko, if hindi ako naglalag, if everything's good on your ends. So what's up to our early birds? Good evening, Boss Edwin. Magandang gabi. So, wow, it's been especially for the crypto market, it's been quite a crazy ride for over the past 24 to 36 hours. I'm sure makaka-relate lahat ng nag-trade ng cryptocurrencies dyan, and we'll do a deep dive into all of that tonight. Right? So first and foremost, I'd like to call onto the stream my co-host for today. And as always, si Bro Kahane. So, Kahane, what's up, man? Good evening.
All right. So, good evening, everyone. Hope you had a good day and patapos na yung week. So, I'm really glad that you guys are still attending our live sessions. So, I hope you guys really learn a lot from what we have to share today.
Yeah. So, grabe Kahane, no? Medyo past 24 hours, the market's been wild. Real time, pinag-uusapan natin kung ano yung nangyayari.
Daming ganap.
So I think what's really interesting about our session tonight is it's not just gonna be me and Kahane and I. We're gonna be joined by a special guest from Bitsquela. And actually, what we're gonna be doing now, leading up to the Investor Summit, our flagship event happening on November 25 to 27, we're gonna be inviting a series of guests, right, to do different webinars, different charting sessions to prepare us, right, for what's to come in the Investor Summit. And what's really great about the session tonight is we're gonna be given a deep look on the landscape of everything that's happening now, especially in regards to the crypto market and also different macroeconomic factors as well, right? So siguro before we start everything, right, Kahane, how have you been in the past 24 hours sa trading mo? How has everything been for you?
Bro, honestly, nag-stay away ako given the drama that's been happening recently. Kitang-kita naman sa Twitter. So, yeah, mostly staying away from the crypto markets right now until the dust settles.
So, I think the headline that we all know is already happening is all the mayhem happening with FTX. Right?
Yeah.
So, kita natin FTX, we've been posting a lot of news updates in the past 24 hours of what's been happening, right? And then because of everything that's been happening with FTX and if I'm not mistaken, originally Binance was supposed to purchase. Tama ka, hindi natuloy, no?
Di natuloy. And
yeah,
Binance
so the deal
that
broke down.
Yeah, so basically Binance stated that it's an issue. It's sort of like a problem that they can't really solve. They can't solve it by buying out FTX. So yeah, they didn't commit to it.
Oh, so Kahane, siguro surface level, no? I think we'll dive deep into it later. Pero ano ba nangyari in your understanding? What happened to FTX?
So basically, based on the news reports that came out, so yung gist lang is FTX has been going through some liquidity problems. So nahihirapan sila to pay out what they need to pay out to clients, to respective stakeholders. And so nangyari dito is they reached out to Binance for help. So they reached out to CZ. And ayun, kaya nag-release yung Binance ng letter, a non-binding letter, na they will try to acquire FTX in the hopes of helping them with their problems. So gusto na lang itry yung nga, ayusin yung liquidity issue. So of course, may due diligence yan since they can't just accept risk na not
Right.
knowing if kaya nilang ayusin. And recently, so ayun, nag-release sila ng statement that unfortunately, they aren't capable of fixing the problem through an acquisition. It's out of their control daw. And parang nagka-scramble ngayon na ayun, nag-release yung mga crypto exchanges ng parang statement or some sort of proof that they have adequate reserves or that they have adequate liquidities para lang to showcase their, I guess, their credentials as crypto exchanges. So
Yeah,
ayun.
and just looking at no, let me just share my screen really quick. Just looking at what's been happening just to Bitcoin, right? We posted maybe yesterday that it went down below 17K. Pero right now it went as low as tama ba to? It went as low as about 15,500, right? Just before 8 a.m. I remember when I was in the gym, chinek ko yung charts eh. Tapos nakita ko na grabe yung binagsak ni Bitcoin. And along with other tokens, right? Bitcoin, ETH, yung mga leaders, maybe someone like Matic, mga lower cap, let's say si Mask, di ba? Isa sa mga nag-rally. If you look at, and then if you just look at the token of FTX, FTP, it's very Terra-like, di ba? It's very similar to Luna, di ba? Just from high 20s, almost 30. Then at least ito hindi na gano, no, nag super centavo pero dropped all the way to 2. I think this is ilang percent ba to kahan, mga
I think
90
it's more than 90. Yeah.
so basically wipe out pa rin. And I think a nice lesson here. Ako kasi, to be honest, I haven't read deeply into what's been happening to FTX. So Kahanin knows more than me. And I'm sure our guest speakers who are going to be with us in a few minutes knows a lot more than the both of us combined, right? So we'll definitely be asking them a lot of questions regarding state of the crypto market, or what's next for FTX, ano ba talaga yung nangyari deeply, right? But a nice lesson here, no, is talagang no, bro, risk management's everything.
Yeah.
Right?
So
At the end of
especially
the
in
day.
a bear market, risk management becomes really key to surviving the bear market, and I guess it sets you up for success later on, right, Toma?
Yeah, and I guess it just shows na we're not out of the woods yet. Ako honestly, akala ko medyo when tokens were rallying in the past 10, 12 days or less. Akala ko pwede na eh. Akala ko oras na pwede na mag-deploy. I actually deployed two very small positions. One in TWT. So I won't highlight the setup now, but there was a setup there. I bought maybe mga 109 ganyan, and then nag-cut lang din kaagad. But I think another nice lesson here is, anything can happen in the market. Right? If nabasa niyo yung book ni Mark Douglas, one of his core rules is you have to have an undying belief that anything can happen. Diba? At any moment. And especially in the crypto market. To be honest, if you were able to survive the crypto, let alone make money, but if you were able to survive your port, hindi masyado go close to break even, medyo it's a pretty good achievement considering the amount of blow-ups, right, that have happened over just this year, right? If you take a look at, I mentioned a while ago, Luna, right? You look at Luna, you look at ano pa ba yung mga nag-collapse? You look at Celsius, you look at 3AC, Voyager, I think BlockFi this year din yun. Sobrang daming nag-collapse, and a lot of it also brought the crypto market, right? The general sentiment down with it as well. Diba? So just being able to survive, the kind of environment that we're in now. Diba? It's yun yung mahalaga, diba? Let not just making money parang bonus na lang, right? Jack Schwager, one of the speakers in the Invest Summit 2022, said trading is the space between the trades, right? Because music is the space between the notes. Trading is the space between the trades. Yeah, you need to understand kailan ka ba dapat wala sa market, right? Unless, di ba, you primarily you primarily trade volatility, shorter term trader ka. But if you're someone like me who doesn't thrive in that environment, wala, di ba? I stay away from the market. I think Kahane can agree with me with the things I've said, no?
Yep, of course. So malaking bagay talaga with being a trader and with progressing as a trader is knowing when to be out of the markets because you don't really need to trade all of the time. And I think Warren Buffett said something about so a good thing about being a trader, about trading the markets, is you don't need to strike at every pitch because three strikes lang you're gonna be out. You just need to wait for that big fat pitch that you can hit a good run with in the markets.
Yun, tama. So, siguro enough na from us, no, Kyle? I think we've
Yeah.
given some good insights, right? But really, the meat of our session for tonight is we're actually joined by the Bitsquela team, right? We're joined by the CEO, si Jiro, and the COO, si Vince of Bitsquela. For those who may not be familiar with Bitsquela, it's an online learning platform, right? With the goal of helping every Filipino become aware, not just aware, but knowledgeable and know how to navigate as well in cryptocurrencies and in Web3. So this is something I'm looking forward to. I don't know a lot about Web3. Actually, naaral ko siya ngayon together with Kahane. May proyekto kami dyan. And so I'm really looking forward to that. And the first, Kane, could you please introduce? So dalawa sila, they're gonna be talking about two different things. So ano ba yung una nating titirahan ngayong gabi, Kahane?
All right. So first of all, let's introduce our friends from Bitsquela. So we're gonna be joined by none other than Jiro, the CEO of Bitsquela, as well as Vince, the COO of Bitsquela.
Yun, right? So without further ado, let's call them on to the stream. So Boss Vince and Boss Jiro, good evening, mga sir.
Hello. Good evening, mga Pogi. What's up? What's up,
Hello,
Pogi?
good evening.
Yun. So guys,
Thanks for the
thank you so
introduction.
much for your times. No? So siguro before we officially begin, I think Gio and Vince, you guys have some slides prepared and you'll be going first, Gio. For the benefit of those, I gave a short intro, but for the benefit of those who are meeting you guys for the first time, hearing about Bitsquela for the first time, could you give a quick introduction about yourselves and about Bitsquela as well?
Yeah, for sure, pare. So ako muna. So hi guys, I'm Gio Reyes, CEO of Bitsquela. And we're an edtech company that focuses on helping Filipinos own a piece of the internet through inclusive and accessible education po on our website. So right now, yung content po namin are available in English, Tagalog, Cebuano, and Ilocano. And we're also expanding to other local languages as well here in the Philippines and even abroad, right? So I handle general operations and the overall direction of the company, make sure everything is aligned with our core values and core missions sa Bitsquela to help Filipinos again own a piece of the internet. Ikaw, Vince, kamusta, brother?
Hi, good evening. So, I'm feeling fine naman as of the moment, and I'm the current COO of Bitsquela. So, I handle the research side, as Jiro said. So, we're an edtech company willing to help Filipinos and just reach out our content there.
Yun, solid. So on that note, would love to give a big thanks talaga sa Investa team, Brother Toma, Brother Kahane, for having us tonight, for giving us this platform to help teach more Filipinos and people in general about the current happenings in Web3, just to spread more awareness on the stuff na nangyari talaga in the
Yeah.
past few months sa market. So maraming salamat talaga.
For sure. We, the both of us and the team, really appreciate your time to help premiere, yung Investor Summit, which is happening very soon. I think this is a great session to start everything off. No, let's start everything with knowing the landscape of what we're in now, what's going to happen, maybe what can happen in the next weeks, the next few months. So, without further ado, Gio, whenever you're ready. we would like to give the floor to you, my brother.
Perfect. Yeah, for sure, man. Let me share my screen lang real quick. By
Right?
the way, kumusta yung mic ko and yung screen ko? Okay naman.
All clear.
All good naman from our end.
It says Chrome has lost permission to capture your screen. To fix it. Sorry, technical difficulties, guys. Bigla. Let me try it again.
Oops. No problem.
Minsan hassle kasi yung
I
pag-share
think
ng mga
it's sure
screens.
it's not. Let me add it to the stream.
Is it? It said
Ayun. Is it this one?
dapat. Yeah. Sorry, bro. Let me try again.
Alright. Ayun.
Kita?
I'll add it. Yun.
Boom. Perfect.
There you
Ayun.
go. So,
Sorry.
Gio, we'll be exiting the stream and we'll be giving the floor to you whenever you're ready.
Yeah. Go ahead, man. Yeah. All good.
All right.
Alright.
Thank you.
Thank you, bros. Medyo nagalag lang yung Boom. Yun. Hello, guys. So yun. Good evening sa inyo lahat. Thank you for spending your 7:20 p.m. With Investograms and Bitskwela. Ulit, kami po ang Bitskwela and we help Filipinos own a piece of the internet. So if meron po kayo nakita maganda throughout this presentation, hopefully you guys could tag us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram at Bitskwela. That's BITSKWELA. And of course, again, thank you po ulit sa Investograms, kina Brother Kahane, Brother Toma, Brother JC, all my friends from Investa for having us tonight. So, diretso na tayo, diba? It is no secret naman na wala na palipot-lipot that the past few months of cryptocurrencies has been, bluntly speaking, boring, right? At least except for the past few days with the FTX and Binance fiasco. Boring in the sense na yung price action niya has been completely sideways. Ever since June kasi, Bitcoin is traded within the range of 16,000 to 25,000 roughly, right? For the past 6 months. Sa crypto kasi, yung 6 months na yan, it's like dog years Napakatagal ng 6 months dito compared to the stocks or FX markets, right? Now, umabot nga siya, like on a personal note lang, umabot siya to the point na may mga ilang weeks ako na hindi talaga ako tumitingin ng trading view na at nagtrabaho na lang ako sa Bitskwela. Kasi yun, there was barely any action for momentum or shorts or whatnot when it came to Bitcoin and the rest of cryptocurrencies. Meron mga relief rallies here and there towards August where we peaked around 25,000, tsaka noong September, noong 23,000, and these were on top of some bullish announcements, news-driven stuff overall with the Fed and other developments. Pero at the end of the day, with every relief rally there, sideways pa rin talaga ang merkado. Now, with this boringness, quote-unquote, again, except for the past few days, dito I believe talaga yung golden opportunity ngayon sa merkado. Now, kasi I'm sure maraming tao dyan within Facebook groups, Twitters, Instagrams, etc. I've heard this over and over and over again for the past months and weeks. Na natatanong, meron pa bang opportunity sa cryptocurrency space right now? Kasi meron pa bang value? Bitcoin's down to what? 16,000, 15,000 last night, diba? Ethereum 1.1, lahat ng altcoins babagsakan, etc. Kasi para sa iba, everything, they're looking at the charts, right? And it makes sense naman on why they would think everything looks like it's dying. Bluntly speaking, right? Everything looks very bearish. Now, my answer to this question is of course, oo, pero maghihintay ka with a smiley face, diba? The truth is talaga, and sinasabi ko to ever since back then, nung unang crash natin ng June of 2022, kailangan mo talaga maghintay at willing ka umupo to make the most out of these market conditions. Like what Thomas said kanina, the money is made in the times that you wait in the market, not when you go for that swing trade, that momentum trade lagi, right? Most of the money and talagang the chunk of everything, the importance of it talaga lies in patience, right? Now, madali sabihin to, madali intindihin, pero mahirap siyang i-practice in my experience. Ang dami kong nakilala at nakilala din na, patient sila for the few weeks. Sinasabi nila, I'm patient, ganun. Pero at the same time, after a few weeks or so, hindi lang naiwasan at they went back to trading and forcing trades over and over again until they eventually lost their portfolio. Now, ayoko mangyari yun sa inyong mga viewers right now of Investor Summit Premiere, right? Now, overall, when I say opportunity in the market, hindi ko sinasabi yung parang 5% gain, 10% gain, or the next swing trade sa isang altcoin na random, diba? My definition of opportunity in this stock is the long-term opportunity sa cryptocurrencies from a macro perspective. Now, I believe on that note, now, and with the past few months, now has been the time, or is the time rather, to think long-term talaga. Long-term po talaga dapat ang ating POV right now. For the past few months kasi we have seen the best and the worst of cryptocurrencies. Best in a sense na mayroon international enterprises creating more proper Web3 bridges. You have more proper regulation being introduced into the space with different countries aside from the Philippines. But at the same time, of course, the worst has also come out. Number one, of course, yung Terra Luna na crash around a few months ago, where one of the biggest stable coins depegged from its $1 peg, causing everything and causing liquidity in the markets to be sucked out. And of course, the second point is what happened just actually 2 days ago, yung FTX and Binance fiasco na pinag-usapan ng Toma kanina, and more on that later, right? But with everything considered on the both good and bad side, para sa akin po talaga, lahat ito noise in the long run. Now, of course, I want to give a quick note lang ulit that everything in this stock is to be considered not financial advice. Of course, every investment decision from yourselves should, of course, come from your own analysis and biases as an investor or trader, right? So, as everyone watching may know naman, diba? There are two approaches kasi when it comes to investing. Of course, TA and FA, technical analysis and fundamental analysis. Now, the problem, quote-unquote, I'm seeing is that a lot of investors often solely focus on the charts or the TA side of things. And for good reasons naman, right? It makes sense, right? Price action is king when you want to make money in the short, medium, or long term. It's a definite and a proper way and avenue for trading. Pero for me kasi, in the cryptocurrency space alone, more often than not, natatabunan si FA, right? When it comes to crypto. Kasi the actual use cases and the innovations na nadadala ng blockchain sa ating mundo are often cloaked by all these altcoin gains, these meme coins, these generative NFT projects, lahat po ng mga noise na ito. The point I'm trying to make is that yes, other exchanges and funds may be failing, other projects may be destroyed, pero all this does not undermine the fundamentals of crypto and blockchain at its core, lalo na si Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? We must not forget on why the crypto space existed in the first place. You know, Satoshi Nakamoto did not create Bitcoin back in 2008 just for the sole, for the sake rather of having these NFT projects being traded in Magic Eden, right? Ginawa ang Bitcoin to separate money from the state, to give freedom to the people, and so on and so forth, right? Now, onto TA naman ng konti. Another point I want to make is that markets moves in cycles. I'm sure marami na nakakaalam nito, but it's very important to know and often overlooked din ito. Then, kasi it puts everything into perspective. Para sa ibang tao, a 20% drop in the market is in the end of the world. Pero while for a leveled investor, for both TA and FA, a 20% market drop is a natural movement and can be considered a golden opportunity to buy the blood. Now, we've seen this kasi what we're seeing right now in the current cryptocurrency market. We have seen this happen over and over and over again historically. Now, here's a chart of Bitcoin right now on your screens with a 1 month time frame. So, makita mo talaga that everything really comes up, down, right? Simply speaking, right? What goes up will come down, and what goes down may come up, right? So, looking at this whole chart, when you look at everything on a macro scale, the current drop, the current bear market, the current sideways market, whatever you want to call it, looks normal, right? It looks just like another red line on the screen. Now, in my opinion kasi, the current price in Bitcoin at $16,387, tsaka si Ethereum na $1,100. These are like buying crypto, Bitcoin and Ethereum back in 2018 or even further away, diba? Now, this for me is a golden opportunity kasi I wouldn't expect to see these prices pa rin from 5 or 10 years from now, frankly speaking. Again, think long-term and think macro to see the opportunity talaga being presented on our screens tonight actually. So of course, para lalong supportahan lahat ito, meron doon ng ibang data na hinanda para to give the viewers a little deeper view sa fundamentals, quote-unquote, ng market na meron ngayon through on-chain metrics. Now, for those who may not know, on-chain metrics are metrics that measure the happenings on-chain, aka the blockchain po. So, every time na may mag-transact sa blockchain, nagre-reflect po siya dito. Think of it as metrics that allow you to look at the behavior of investors outside of centralized exchanges. Now, we'll start off po with CDD, or Coin Days Destroyed. Now, this metric basically measures the age of Bitcoin na minumove or binibenta. So, in simpler words, the higher the metric, yung orange one sa ilalim, means there are more holders. Or higher the metric means more holders, aka the people that are believing are selling, right? So generally, you'd want a low CDD, or Coin Days Destroyed, which will mean, which what you're seeing right now actually. If you head over to the bottom right to the screen, then in July 2022 onwards, you would see the spikes are just little lang, mga baby lang na spikes to compared historically, like what we saw noong January 19, July 19, July 21, and January 2022. Right? For the past few months, we didn't really see any big spike. Now, this suggests, on a data perspective, that there are less Bitcoin now with the intention of being sold by long-term holders, aka conviction remains strong on a fundamental level. Number 2, exchange balance. So this one's pretty straightforward. It measures the amount of Bitcoin currently on centralized exchanges like Binance or Coinbase. Now, generally, you'd want to see this go down as a bull kasi lower exchange balances means less supply na intended for selling ng mga tao. And as you may notice for the past few months as well, the trend has been generally down. And interestingly enough din, this trend nag-start na siya ng 2020, the start of the previous bull market, which is the first reversal in this on-chain metrics history. Again, this overall suggests strong conviction when it comes to holders. Number 3 is one of my personal favorites, yung NUPL, or Net Unrealized Profit and Loss. Ito po yung difference between relative unrealized profit and relative unrealized loss for the Bitcoin on-chain. Now, this basically measures the state of profit or loss po sa mga Bitcoin na hinawakan ng mga tao outside exchanges. Above 0 is profit, below 0 is loss. Now, this is a Glassnode, yung provider ng on-chain metrics. They classify the ranges on the chart as well, according to market psychology. So you have capitulation, hope, fear, optimism, anxiety, belief, denial, or euphoria and greed, as seen on the legend sa ilalim po. Now, this means that this metric can be used to help measure ups and downswings of the market in both ways, right? Now, right now, we're at the borderline of capitulation, which we came from, your red area. And right now, and the orange and hope or fear na stage, right? Now, of course, this suggests that the market, at least according to this metric, is closer to the max pain point than it was before, which in turn makes the risk and reward ratio more attractive at this level. Because if you look at the historical landscape ng on-chain metric na ito, the red zone has been reached around 4 times in Bitcoin's history: 2012, 2015, 2019, and 2020. Now, every time that this metric reached the red zone, the capitulation zone, then this was with a short period of error. This was near the bottom of the actual market cycle. So right now, since we're currently in that level, it's safe to say that we are, of course, more or less near na rin that max pain point, wherever it is. Pwede siyang nakita na natin, pwede siyang hindi pa. But the point is, malapit na tayo either way doon. Number 4 na ba to? Number 4 ata to, or 5, I lost track, is the mean hash rate. So this one measures the amount of number of hashes Bitcoin miners do per second on a global basis. So basically, the higher hash rate equals a more secure Bitcoin network. So right now, makita mo yung orange natin ay nasa all-time high despite the market conditions we have been seeing for the past few months. Now, this implies clearly na despite sobrang bearish ng lahat ng mga prices and whatnot, market conditions, and bankruptcies and whatnot, Bitcoin security is continuing to rise pa rin overall, and which is a very, very good thing on a fundamental level. Last but not least is another of my favorite, which is what we call hodl waves. Now, fun fact, yung term na hodl actually came from a Reddit user back then. Nung misspell niya yung word hold hold Bitcoin. Na-type niya HODL instead of HOLD. Kaya naging meme na siya ever since for some reason. So it means hold on for dear life. Parang ganun. So this one basically measures the active supply age bands, right? Now each colored bands shows the percentage of Bitcoin in existence that was last moved within the time frame period denoted in the legend on the top, right? Yung 10 years, 7 years, 5 years, 3 years, 2 years, so on and so forth. Now to simplify things, I've filtered it out and I'm only showing the age bands for 6 months and above. AKA, ang nakita po natin dito are the Bitcoin that haven't moved for the past 6 months or more. AKA, yung mga medyo matagal nang hinahawakan. Now, what do you guys notice the chart natin dun sa pinakakanan? Again, the bands cumulatively are at an all-time high ever since the start of Bitcoin in 2008. Now, this suggests that the holders in general are most dominant talaga in the history, or it has been the most dominant spot right now and historically when it comes to Bitcoin. Signaling talaga na may talagang resounding refusal to spend and sell yung mga holdings nila despite all these negative global capital market na nangyari, catalyst, right? Now, enough of that. Siguro, move on tayo quickly to news din kasi marami din nangyari noong October. Now, aside from these on-chain metrics, ang dami kasing positive na Web3 developments aside from price actions. Now, highlight ko lang top 3 ko. So, number 1 is MasterCard develops a tool to combat fraud. Now, this basically, they develop crypto secure that helps banks assist the risk of crime talaga associated with crypto merchants on its network. Now, this is powered by a CipherTrace na startup and will tackle a $14 billion industry of scams and fraud in the crypto space. Now, this is very important kasi this is an added tool for mass adoption in a sense na this tool allows for major banks like MasterCard again to really get into the space safely without having to worry of all these crimes and scams and frauds and whatnot. It's an added tool like a shield sa gera, diba? Para nakatulong talaga to help navigate everything. Number 2 is Twitter allowing to buy NFTs through tweets. Now, hindi pa ito nire-roll out, pero this is already announced around a few weeks ago. Basically, you can buy NFTs on the Twitter platform on both iOS and the desktop version. Now, this is in partnership with Magic Eden, Rarible, Dapper Labs, Jump Trade, and Dapper Labs, yung apat pala na yun, right? And this covers all these chains, Ethereum, Solana, Flow, Polygon, Tezos, Immutable, etc., etc. Now, this, of course, is a very bullish development when it comes to NFTs, as this brings NFTs one step closer. Kasi imagine mo, buying NFTs while tweeting on your mobile app, which is basically the app that everyone uses on a daily basis, aside from Facebook, diba? It's a really, really cool thing to see. And we're seeing the same developments as well in Meta when it comes to Instagram and Facebook, diba? Now, number 3 is Google Cloud launches blockchain node engine. Now, this one's medyo recent. Google Cloud basically launched what they call BNE, node hosting service for Web3 developers. Basically, people can deploy their nodes on the Google Cloud, which makes things everything easier, faster, and more secure, right? Now, compared kasi to the traditional way of making nodes, bibili ko ng computer, mag-set up ng software, ang dami pong gagawin na physical stuff sa bahay mo para maging node sa isang network. Ito with Google Cloud, understanding ko so far at least is kaya mo gawin to in a quick way. Now, this is currently available on Ethereum and Solana. Now, to be honest, when I was writing down these 3 main things, hindi ko pa nasasama ang Binance and FTX, which has happened like a few days ago or 2 days ago lang, right? So we'll talk more about that later. Pero yun nga yung top 3 bullish developments ko for October. Now, overall, makita natin na with everything I presented, meron tayong strong hodling, meron tayong bullish developments on the fundamental level, and we have accumulation when it comes to the Bitcoin, right? Now, lahat ito are good signs in the right direction. Pero, bakit nga ba tayo nasa bear market pa rin, right? Aside, of course, from the Binance and FTX fiasco, again, the other 2 days, bakit nga ba tayo nandito pa rin yun? And that is because of these 2 words, global liquidity. Now, on that note, I'll pass on the mic to Brother Vince Edrin of Bitsuela to talk more about the macroeconomics na we're facing right now when it comes to different markets with crypto, stocks, FX, etc. etc. Unless meron pala tayong transition pala muna, Toma. Not sure.
Alright.
Ayun.
No, I'm just
Pero
here
yun,
to,
thank you.
to help call on Vince as well. Alright. So,
Yun.
thanks for that, Gio. So, I'll just add on to the stream as well. Si Vince, the COO of Bitsquela. So, Gio, we'll come back to you later in the Q&A session.
Hey
Thank you,
guys,
brother.
so thank you, Jiro, for that intro. And now I'll be taking over to talk about global liquidity and how it affects the crypto market. Okay, so if I can just share my screen.
Tama ba to,
Yep.
Vince, this one? Alright.
Yep, tama bro. Sige.
Yours,
Alright.
yours.
So, okay, let's start. So, macroeconomics and cryptocurrencies. Bakit nga ba siya important? And recently talaga, during this year, naging theme yung dollar, especially yung US dollar, even sa social media, right? So, the dollar is strong, peso is weak. So, talagang naging macro theme yung decisions ng US government and US Fed when it comes to investments and when it comes to the currencies. And now we're going to look on why macroeconomics and cryptocurrencies is relevant. Okay, so first disclaimer, I'm not a financial advisor, an economist. The content is for informational purposes only, and no such information is used as financial advice. But first, let's start with what is macroeconomics. Para hindi familiar yung term, or it might be familiar with others, especially if nadaanan niyo to sa high school. So, yun lang, medyo babalik tayo sa high school. Let's first define what is microeconomics and macroeconomics. So, micro is the study of how individuals, businesses, and households make choices in response to allocating resources. Ito rin yung tinatawag na bottom-up approach. When you're doing micro, if you relate lang natin sa trading, no? If you're doing micro, you're looking at a stock first, then you look for a setup, then you trade that setup before going higher. Like, you focus on the stock, before the industry, before the economy. On the other hand, macroeconomics naman is the study of the economy as a whole, including markets, businesses, consumers, and governments. So ito naman yung tinatawag na top-down approach. You look at the economy first, and then the industries, and then the specific stock when it comes to trading. So when the economy is bad, normally you would think twice before considering the industry, let alone considering the stock. So the top-down approach is what we're going to talk about today and how it gives us a better overview. And it really pays to pay attention to global macroeconomic events since they affect market conditions and our portfolios as well. But before that, let's give a quick example lang for microeconomics para mas maging familiar pa tayo. So, as was the topic for Jiro's presentation, and napag-usapan din ni Bro Toma and Bro Kahani yung FTX and Binance fiasco. So, FTX really crashed from $22 to around $2 to $3 na lang siya ngayon. And this is a good example of microeconomic factors in play because this was caused by the action of CZ. So it was the action of one individual or one company inducing greater or aggressive demand into the market since they saw na FTX was essentially illiquid and it would affect the whole market. Investors started panicking, they started to drive the supply and demand down. So this is what happened, and this is why I guess the whole cryptocurrency market is really down right now and it's really crashing. But it doesn't affect the big macro theme, or it doesn't affect the other markets like the stock markets or the foreign currencies markets. As you can see, I think yesterday or the other day, the US indices still ended up positive. So this was mainly limited to crypto. On the other hand naman, an example of a macroeconomic event is the US dollar rising and then ano yung correlation niya to Bitcoin and the I think this is the Nasdaq. Sorry. So, hindi ko lang na-check yung exchange. But this is a US index. So ano yung correlation ng dollar and correlation niya to Bitcoin and the US index. So kung mapapansin natin sa chart, the dollar is the blue line, and when it was rising in the early 20s early 2020, Bitcoin and US indices started going down. So nagkaroon tayo ng inverse relationship. And it really brought me some insight. How can macroeconomics affect cryptocurrencies, or how can it influence our outlook? Since ngayon, inversing relationship nila, does that mean that if the dollar starts going down, cryptocurrencies will start going up? So maybe we can use that as a concept or as a food for thought. What do you think? So mga ka-investa, keep that in mind lang. If the dollar starts going down, how will it affect stocks or cryptocurrencies? Okay, so let's start first with the key macroeconomic factors. So there are three lang: employment rate, gross domestic product, and inflation. So employment rate is the percentage of people who are unemployed. So they're actively seeking a job pero wala pa rin silang job. In turn, they're not producing goods or services that helps the economy. That's why unemployment rate affects gross domestic product. Gross domestic product naman, or GDP, is the total market value of goods and services produced within the borders of an economy. So yung GDP, it's important because a GDP is essentially the value of a country or the value of an economy. Inflation naman, on the other hand, it's the rate of increase in the prices of goods and services in an economy. So ito yung pagtaas ng presyo. This has also become a hot topic recently because of how high and how fast inflation is growing, and how it's making prices go up so fast talaga na it's eroding our purchasing power ng mga pera natin. Okay, so just a look at the numbers. I place a chart here that says current, and then the expectation, and then yung outlook. So placing our key economic factors on the left side, we see that the current unemployment rate is just 3.5%. The normal rate, or the expected rate of economists, policymakers, is an unemployment rate of 3 to 5%. So right now, medyo normal pa yung outlook natin, or medyo neutral pa. In other words, hindi pa siya that concerning na ganito yung unemployment rate. Same is true with GDP. Kasi GDP in the last quarter actually rose. So dahil dun, parang binawi niya yung negative GDP of the previous quarters. And right now, we're kind of near the normal rate of 2 to 3%. So medyo normal din yung outlook for GDP. Inflation, on the other hand, is really high. Since September inflation, the rate is 8.2%. Pero ang expectation for normal inflation is just 2 to 3%. That's why it's become really bearish, and it's become a need for the US to try and address this inflation. Okay, so let's delve deeper into inflation. So as I mentioned before, inflation is the rate of increase in the prices of goods and services in an economy. High inflation generally lowers GDP. Kasi kung tumataas yung presyo ng goods, bumababa yung nasa save ng mga tao. So people start earning less, people start saving less. And in turn, high inflation then causes or discourages people from investing. So it discourages investments. That's why you can also say that if inflation gets higher, generally it negatively affects markets, or bumababa yung prices, nag-weaken siya due to inflation. Okay, just an example of inflation in play. During the 1990s, yung San Miguel beer was only 14 pesos, yung San Miguel Light, 15 pesos. Right now, fast forward 30 years later, San Miguel beer and San Miguel Light is almost at 60 pesos. So parang 4 times increase. So grabe yung pagtaas ng presyo. Yung 15 pesos mo nun, you can already buy 1 beer. Right now, you can't even buy half a beer. And that's why inflation is really concerning. Kasi imagine in 30 years, it went up 4x. How much more now na umakyat tayo at 8% a year? So parang grabe yung value na ma-erode, and grabe din yung price, yung pagtaas ng mga prices. But currently, we've been studying the key rates or key macroeconomic factors ng US. So pinag-usapan natin unemployment rate, GDP, inflation, pero they are all US rates. So why are we studying the US? And the answer to that question is because the US is, or the US dollar is the world's reserve currency, meaning um, all of the other countries, all of the other banks, companies are holding US dollars in their reserves. So this means that there's more value for the dollar since everyone has it, or since everyone is holding it as a store of value. And they're holding it as a store of value because the US is the largest market in the world. So may value yung currency ng US because until today, they dominate world trade. They're uh, the highest payers. They're the biggest market where you can get the best opportunities. And since the dollar is the reserve currency, it's the largest market in the world, they're in a good place to move liquidity in the market, and they can really influence liquidity or global liquidity. So this is a key concept that Sir Javi always mentions in Open Journal. Liquidity moves the markets. That's why it pays to pay attention to what the Fed is doing, or the Fed is the Federal Reserve, by the way, and the Federal Reserve is the one in charge of influencing monetary policy. Ayan. So yung other side naman is the fiscal policy. And that's on the central bank's end. Ay, wait, sorry. That's on the central government's end. So yeah, medyo nalito lang ako dun sa terms. So the central government manages fiscal policy and the central bank is in charge of monetary policy. Okay, so for fiscal policy, the role of the central government is to collect taxes and spend it on the economy. While yung role naman ng central bank sa monetary policy is to manage the money supply or the global liquidity. So, ang key focus talaga natin is the central bank or the actions of the central bank in regards to monetary policy. Pero fiscal policy is also important. That's why we're going to go through them too, because in a way, medyo tied sila. Because the central government also helps out in monetary policy, even though main job talaga ito ng central bank. Okay, so just a few actions or policy decisions that fiscal policymakers can make is government spending, taxes, and deficits. So government spending, it's the way that the government uses money to produce public goods. And yung mga public goods na ito yung mga roads, railways, yung mga tunnels, yung mga goods that are for everyone, yung mga ginagamit ng lahat. They're the ones in public places. The government doesn't really earn from these goods, pero the economy benefits kasi people and businesses find it easier now to function. For example, if you had better roads, there will be less traffic. If you had better railways or better subways, may alternative modes of transportation. So people reduce the time in traffic and then increase their productivity. So this is how government spending can help out in the economy, and that's why it's expansionary. If tax rates are lowered naman, expansionary din yun. Kasi the government gets less from the people and the people get to use that money for other things like investments. Deficits are defined as having a negative balance sheet. Although that sounds bad, deficit is not totally bad. Kasi how a government addresses its deficit is that it borrows to fund their deficits. So while negative sila, while they're currently spending more than they make, kasi they're increasing spending, pero yung tax collection naman nila mababa. So over time, magkaka-deficit sila. But they're addressing that by loaning money to address the difference for now, para in the future, mababalik din nila. And the US has been in a deficit for quite a long time, and it's not necessarily good. That's why medyo neutral ground po for now when it comes to expansionary and contractionary fiscal policy. Kasi in a good economy na may expansionary fiscal policy, you don't want to be running a deficit. But somehow the US has managed to do it and has still managed to retain its spot. On the other hand, in a recession, it's good to have a deficit kasi kailangan mo yung pera to fund your operations, kailangan mo ng pera to keep the economy going. But it's also not good to have a deficit for so long in a recession. That's why it's kind of like in a gray spot right now. But the US is still continuing on its expansionary fiscal policy. Now let's move on to the key focus, kasi we really want to focus on the money supply, which is headed by the central banks. And it's really the dependent variable of policies. Ito yung variable that they're really trying to address, and it's the one that helps address inflation or targets inflation to good normal rate. Okay, so monetary policy, it's implemented by the central bank, and they can influence monetary policy through 3 ways. So the central bank is in the Philippines, it's the Bangko Sentral. In the US, it's the Federal Reserve. Yun yung tawag sa mga central banks natin. Okay, so for the first method, it's changing the reserve requirement. Having a higher reserve requirement is contractionary, while having a lower reserve requirement is expansionary. A reserve requirement is the percentage of cash na BSP today, the central bank mandates other banks to hold. So halimbawa, yung reserve requirement mo is 10%. Banks are supposed to deposit 10% to the central bank. So parang naka-lock in na yung 10% na yun. Hindi nila magagalaw. It's money that the central bank decides for the commercial bank. So di talaga nila magagalaw yung 10% na yun. That's why it's a given that a higher reserve requirement means contractionary kasi there's less money in the system. If the central bank is keeping higher reserves, there is less money to go around in the economy. On the other hand, if mababa naman yung reserve requirement natin, let's say it's 0%, then parang free-flowing na yung money sa economy because the central bank is not holding any of them from the banks. Next are changing interest rates, and this has also been a key topic as of late with regards to the Fed funds rate or the policy rate na ginagamit ng Central Bank ng United States. Having a higher interest rate is contractionary, while having a lower interest rate is expansionary. Now, having a higher interest rate is not necessarily bad or good, but yung perspective kasi dito, we're looking at real interest rate, which is the nominal interest rate subtracted to the inflation rate. So, ang current inflation rate natin, kung babalikan lang natin sa previous slide, it's 8.2%, while the current policy rate for the United States is around 4% na siya ngayon, and they're targeting 4.5 or 4.75 by year end. So, they're targeting near 5% for next year. Parang slowly humahabol yung nominal interest rate sa inflation. And that's good because if the nominal interest rate is higher than the inflation rate, kumikita yung mga tao from investing in the US and just getting the interest rate. Alright, so next and lastly is open market operations. And this method is the most controversial one, especially in the pandemic. It's the one that kind of saved the markets because the Fed implemented quantitative easing, or they injected money into the economy, and then it became expansionary. So stock markets started to rise, people started to have more cash, more loans from the banks. On the other hand naman, what the central bank of the US is doing right now is quantitative tightening. So they're planning to now sell back or cut the money that they injected into the system. So when this happens, it's contractionary because less money in the system also discourages investing. Okay, so this is one of the events that people fear to happen in the next year when the Fed really starts implementing their quantitative tightening more and more. It will cause markets to be more indecisive or be more defensive. In other words, magiging risk-off na rin sila. Okay, so taking all these into account, what does it mean for cryptocurrencies? So ang dami natin discuss na factors, daming policies, involvement ng mga central banks. So ano yung current view when it comes to crypto? So right now, if we look at the numbers, the US economy is still strong. As seen in their GDP and unemployment rates, it's not really that bad. Yung inflation lang talaga yung medyo GG sila right now. But this is also why the Federal Reserve is hiking rates or their interest rates to keep up with inflation. And this is generally a bullish sign because if inflation rate, interest rates keep up with inflation and eventually might even overtake inflation, consumers, investors are encouraged to save more, are encouraged to invest more. And lastly, the Fed can't keep raising rates forever. Kasi there's a limit then to how much they can raise rates. So once this happens, this might be the start of the dollar weakening. And right now, kasi the stronger dollar leads to weaker crypto prices. But I guess in light of the facts that we presented today, what happens when the dollar starts to weaken? Will it lead to higher crypto prices? Right. So that's a food for thought, and that's something that you may want to process in considering all of these macroeconomic factors. And last point is that cryptocurrencies are still young. It's still a nascent technology, and I think it's a really exciting time in the space right now, since macroeconomics didn't used to have such an impact or such an influence in the cryptocurrency market until late, until the recent months lang or the recent years, siguro nung 2020. Doon lang talaga nagkaroon ng effect. Before that, cryptocurrencies didn't really care about what the central bank was doing. They weren't really market big enough to be influenced by macroeconomics. So this is something to consider then. Now the technology is growing, cryptocurrencies are still growing despite the bear market. And right now, more and more people are noticing them because of how they're being affected by the US dollar or the monetary policies of the central bank. Okay, so that's it for my talk on the global liquidity or macroeconomics on cryptocurrencies. I hope you guys had additional perspective taking into account Jiro's talk earlier on technical analysis and on-chain metrics.
All right, there we go. Vince, thank you so much for that great presentation on macro. I think that was also a great primer for those who baka bago pa lang, no, hearing all of those things for the first time. It was definitely hard for me when I started out. Now I was listening, you mentioned Javi kanina sa Open Journal. Now starting out, dami na sinasabi. But ganun din, inaral ko lang din. So hopefully those who are hearing these terms for the first time, Vince gave a very good explanation to them, right? So I think after all of that, I think now is a great time to do some Q&A. Get a few from the audience if Maren. I think Kahane has some questions. I have some questions about FTT, about FTX. But before that, just really quick, that was such a great primer to our upcoming event. I just like to quickly share with everyone, in case you guys don't know, it's happening in the next few 3 weeks. The Investor Summit is happening on November 25, and I think the theme is quite right for everything that's been happening. Opportunities in crisis. As I remember when we were planning the event, magiging crisis pa kaya sa November? Inisip namin kasi at that time, inflation was still Di pa siya mainstream masyado when we were planning it, but it was a big thing. We were hoping it wouldn't be, right? That we would probably have to change it, pero wala. This is the environment that we're in. Yan, 15 days left. 3D event via Zoom lang, right? And I'm really excited for the speakers that we got for this year's summit. The most I'm excited for is Jack Schwager, right? I'll be interviewing him in advance. So on the 21st, I'll be interviewing him. Of course, pressure yun sa akin. He's interviewed countless of great traders in the past 4.5 decades. So I gotta step my game up. And one of the people he interviewed, the market wizard Tom Basso, will be joining us. Of course, Javi, as I mentioned, crowd favorite speaker since 2017. For the past 5 years, has been speaking for us, and he has something in store for everybody. Of course, there's for other speakers, Akio, Money Growers, Bernard from BDO, the Lee brothers, Boss Z, Mark Yusko, and the rest of the gang, right? And our panelists. So yun, just really excited for what these gentlemen have in store for everyone, and how they can, what the strategies that they give can help us build a crisis-proof portfolio. So there's a bunch of ticket options. You can get it for free if you subscribe to the Investor Prime. If you subscribe to the Investa Prime. Ikaw, Kahane, sino yung speaker na inaantabayanan mo?
Siyempre bro, si Mark Yusko.
Mark Yusko.
So, yeah. So looking forward to his talk since medyo kakaiba yung talk niya. He's gonna be deep diving into crypto and any mga exciting stuff that Web3 has to offer.
Yun. So if you guys don't know Mark Yusko, if you're active on Real Vision, he's been a constant speaker there. Pero sobrang lupit niyan. So yeah, and of course, none of this wouldn't have been possible without our partner. Shout out to everyone, and of course, to our major sponsor, BDO Securities. Special shout out to you guys for helping us make all of this, the premiere, and the event itself possible. So if anyone here is new to the markets, right? It's just, and you're still looking for a platform where you can trade. It's super easy to trade stocks online with BDO Securities on their great platform, right? And if you're already an existing, right, BDO client, you can actually just create an account in just 5 minutes, right? I am an existing BDO client, right? So, and you can get real-time funding and withdrawals. So, and I think ito yung pinakamaganda. You can get access to their extensive research report and trade ideas, right? So you can stay on top, right, of markets and stay on top of your trading. So all you have to do is just go to their website to learn more about the platform and the services and products that they are offering. So, ayun, guys, 15 days away, Investor Summit, and of course to our school partner, shout out to you guys as well. So it's happening. We brought some of the best in the industry. Dati nababasa natin sa libro. Dati yung libro nila, binabasa lang natin. And we brought them here for you guys to learn. So let's hope we'll see you there. And I'm personally looking forward to all of our speakers. So yeah, that's it for the Investor Summit. And I think now is a great time to proceed to the Q&A session, right? So maybe before we move on to audience questions, which we will be prioritizing, right? I want to ask the first question. So, Gio and Vince, for the both of you guys, what the hell happened to FTX?
Yun yung talagang top of mind question na lahat ng tao ngayon. I mean, honestly, ako muna siguro. Honestly, everything is still being processed din on my end. Kasi sobrang bilis na pangyayari from Binance and FTX. The event, the crash and everything started as quickly as it ended. I imagine nyo, na-wipe out bilyones ng pera ng FTX, ng buong market capitalization of the cryptocurrency space in a matter of 3 days. Right. Now, it's pretty crazy to think. So, what really happened was, to my knowledge talaga, is, excuse me, parang nagka-konting allegations online that FTX was, and Alameda Research, the fund behind or in partnership with FTX, were insolvent, right? Meaning their assets couldn't already pay for their liabilities, right? So they were in a pretty deep hole at that point. So nag-tweet si Binance, ganun, si CZ, and then that basically started some panics, initial panics in the market, right? And kaya din we've seen the initial crash sa FTT token. Now, after that as well, parang doon na nag-pop up lahat ng mga totoong masamang nangyari, right? We started seeing news about how sina SBF of FTX were looking to sell their ventures, trying to do a partnership with Binance for acquisition, mabenta yung assets nila, so on and so forth. They were basically looking for a lifeboat. Now, this was also amplified by media, of course, sina Zero Hedge, CoinDesk, etc., the usual stuff. They amplified this news. Oh, Binance looking to acquire FTX, LOI nila, blah, blah, blah. FTX in a deep hole, ganun. And this caused major panic in the markets. Kasi FTX was the third or the second largest exchange, if I'm not mistaken, sa crypto, at least back then. And dun yung talagang bahay ng mga whales sa mga abroad. Thankfully, hindi siya super sikat dito sa Pilipinas. So, hopefully, hindi masyadong marami Pilipino na apektuhan nun. But yun, marami talagang kapital ang hawak ng FTX. So, when the market panicked about it, talagang boom, everything just went insane. And then, of course, liquidations came in. The long liquidation over and over and over again, reaching the local lows 2 days ago for around 17,000, 18,000, and then yesterday at 15,000. When Binance actually said, na whoops, we're not going to proceed with the acquisition. Bahala na kayo dyan, right? It's pretty interesting then to think or to see that Binance actually requested for FTX US to be part of the acquisition deal. Now, this is very important and it's a very smart move by CZ in my opinion, because this request na isamang FTX US sa deal will, and this request kasi won't be approved like 99% of the time by the US regulators. Imagine a Chinese company like Binance looking to buy a US corporation, right? Now, for the lawmakers sa US, they would be like, no, ayokong ganun. Pasa ko dyan. So, in that way, when the deal doesn't push through, the fault is on the lawmakers, not on Binance. So, effectively, they were able to stray away FUD and anger and hate from Binance away from their company, and napasa nila sa lawmakers. They're like, no, di na push through dahil nag-know yung mga lawmakers, not our fault, right? And of course, dagdag na dun is Binance also said na everything was too deep to save na, right? It's too wrecked na. So on top of everything talaga, Binance is the winner here. Kasi they were able to take out, quote unquote, even that wasn't in the intention naman, of course, they were able to take out a big competitor, which is FTX, and at the same time, they of course got some sheds of good light overall for trying to help save FTX and other market participants. But yeah, that's pretty much it from my end. Vince, ikaw, merong added insights dyan, brother.
Yeah, I agree with what Giro said. And for me, talagang parang either well-orchestrated attack siya or it's a confluence of different events just happening all at the same time. Because this event really happened when na-leak yung balance sheet ng Alameda that they were holding 50% of their assets in FTT, or kumbaga, the token of their parent company. So that's like holding your 50% is your own token. Imagine if it went to zero. So parang you're already illiquid, or the assets in your exchange are not pegged one-to-one. So it could really potentially cause a bank run, which is what happened, di ba? When a bank run happened, FTX couldn't return yung deposits one-to-one. They really couldn't finance all of their existing liabilities. Then nagkataon din na CZ saw this as an opportunity to attack, removing his 22 million FTT and moving it to Binance, which is like a declaration of war na to FTX. Na they're planning to sell their holdings, they're not really invested in FTX right now, and why should we as well? And the third one is yung Luna crash. Since medyo recent lang siya, imagine a top 10 cryptocurrency coin from the price of $100 going down to zero. What more for crypto exchange na second to Binance lang? Diba mas likely yung chance niya going to near zero as well if yung price niya just $22. And the fourth one is the Sol epoch being unlocked. So yung Sol kasi there's a staking na alam ko may parang staking protocol that unlocks just earlier. Kanina lang nag-unlock siya 34 million din. So people were also anticipating that in the past few days, past few hours, na if that Sol unlocks, Sam Bankman-Fried, the CEO of FTX, who holds around $1 billion worth of Sol yata, would also be incentivized to sell na. Kasi yun na lang yung hawak niyang assets for FTX, di ba? So that also caused a market panic on Sol. And it's really, parang grabe yung confluence, grabe yung naging unwinding ng events. Parang nagpatong-patong na lang yung mga, what do you call that, catalysts.
Right now din, nagdepeg na yung USDT. Habang
Yeah,
nagkutok
I think
tayo.
actually nag-chat
Natawa
kasi
ako
nag-chat kami ni Kahane, bang uy, pwede to, tanong, we talking about it. Yung BUSD naman medyo nag-rally na konti. So, and I think that's a I don't know if my insight kayo, no? But guys, before we move on to the next question, I'd like to give the floor to Kahane to lead. Right, our Q&A session. We have a lot of great questions from the audience as well. I don't know, Kahane, if you have any personal questions, because I have a very important commitment I have to get to at 8:15. So before I go, I'd like to thank Jiro and Vince, and of course Bitsquela, for your time to be with us here to premiere the first premiere of the Investor Summit. Personally, marami akong tutunan. I was familiar with on-chain, but I didn't really know how it works. So I enjoyed your talk, Jiro and Vince. Sana napakinggan ko yung talk mo bago ako sumabak sa macroeconomic update si Javi way back 2019. I'm sure marami natulungan, right, from that primer. So thank you as well.
Appreciate it, brother. Pleasure's all ours. And thank you. Thank you marami talaga.
Floor is yours, and to our audience, I'm sure masasagot lahat ng questions niyo. Maraming salamat everyone, and good night for me.
Ingat, brother. Ingat.
Sige, bro. Ingat. Alright, so mukhang marami ng questions that came in from our viewers. So let's start off with this from Emoji. So tinatanong niya, should we trade before or after news on the economic calendar? So kayo, ano advice nyo on this?
Go, Vince. Anong advice mo? Meron na sagot pero ikaw muna.
Personally, I don't subscribe to trading either before or after economic news. Kasi mixed signals kasi when it comes to economic news. Although important yung inflation data and yung FOMC rates, it's kind of 50-50 din eh. Kasi there's also analyst expectations. Na if the analysts expect the rates to be higher than the current rate na mapaprice in sa market, then that's kind of bearish then, even though the rate is kind of low na. Diba? So parang ang dami ding factors in play when you're considering that. And di mo rin masasabi, like you can consider it as being priced in, or you can consider it as being not priced in yet. I think it's better to consider economic calendar data on a broader or on a longer term perspective than shorter term rates.
Yeah, actually same answer from me. Hindi rin ako masyadong nag-trade before or after events unless it crashes na maganda, and doon ako bibili ng konting Bitcoin and Ethereum. But aside from that, I don't trade din kasi like what Vince said, it's usually like a dice roll na talagang even though your analysis on it may be bullish, may be bearish on interest rates and whatnot, it's a very, very hard subject to really perfect. And to my experience, the hit rates kahit napakagaling mo dun, it's not worth the risk in a sense. So best just stay away muna, wait it play out, and then let the price action define itself after maybe a day or so after economic news.
Alright, so just wanted to add lang rin na whether or not you decide to trade, whatever happens, just be prepared for volatility. So for the past economic news, parang minsan binabantayan namin ito, malo wala siya dito. Papansin namin sobrang volatile talaga. Like the minute news comes out, parang online casino to, according to Toma. So ayun. Then the next question from Rayan Riquetes or Ricites. Sirs, paano po ito nakaka-relate sa mga Web3 yung trading? So ayun, yun yung question niya.
Yeah, so actually kasi when it comes to cryptocurrencies, they operate like stocks. Cryptocurrencies in essence are assets that you can buy and sell. on exchanges to same way as stocks, right? So pretty much, and this applies as well to NFTs and other types of tokens in the Web3 space. So the thing is, kasi cryptocurrency, when it comes to trading and investing, the profit and loss comes from investors thinking if it's overvalued or undervalued, which is the essence of investing and trading, right? You profit from the volatility that comes with it. Now, the same thing applies to cryptos and Web3. There are people who think that Bitcoin is valued at this. There are people who think Bitcoin is valued at this, right? And with that difference, dun po pumapasok ang investing and trading na opportunity for you guys. So yeah, personally, I do my tradings on Binance mainly, sometimes PDAX, sometimes coins, and soon as well on the G Crypto app na coming soon within the next few months or so. So yeah, yun lang naman from me. Vince, you, if any?
Um, yeah, I guess I just like to add na from Bitsquela, we're really coming from a trading investing background din kasi. So yun yung naging approach namin to Web3. Like personally, I've been trading since 3 years ago. I started with stocks and then last year I got into cryptocurrency. So parang more than 3 years na rin ako into trading. And si Chiro din, I think he has some years around his belt then when it comes to trading stocks and cryptocurrencies, diba?
Yeah. Around, nag-start ako mga college eh. Fourth year ko. So that's around 4 years ago. 3 to 4 years. Ewan ko. Batch me sa kanan, di ba? Ilang years ago yun.
2020.
Kumalala.
So, 3
Mga
years
3,
ago.
no? Mga 3
Yeah.
so far, roughly, yeah. Rock and roll.
Alright. So the next question from James. So he's asking, given your view on macroeconomics and the current hodl position, so when can we see the trend in the cryptocurrency market start to reverse? So for you, what key events should we be looking out for?
Vince, you want to take this or me?
Yeah, sige, I can take it naman. So, just going to dissect the question lang. Kasi parang medyo mahaba din yung question. Given our view. So, James is asking when the market is going to reverse or when do we think the market is going to reverse and what key events would be likely become the catalyst to this. So personally, I think that the market can start reversing around next year on yung mga latter quarters because that's the time that the Fed is expected to be dovish or is expected to taper on their rate hikes. Meaning, right now, they're aggressively raising interest rates, but during next year on the latter quarters, they're expected to tone down yung rate hikes nila. So they won't be hiking as much and investors, institutional, retail might be looking to that as a sign na the US dollar may start to weaken already. Kasi if the Fed isn't raising interest rates as much, parang nagkakaroon na ulit ng pera into the system and there's less incentive to hold dollars now. So they might view that as a sign to take profits on their dollar position as well. And yun, baka mag-rotate yung pera into cryptocurrencies and to assets like stocks then.
Nakamit ka ata, Jiro.
Sorry, yeah. I just said nothing else from me. Same answer naman. Thank you, James, for the question.
Great answers. Great answer. So, so there's a question from James. So he's asking, looking at long-term investing, so do you think it's time to do peso cost averaging?
Ako para sa akin, talaga. Like, at least for Bitcoin and Ethereum. I personally do not hold any altcoins long-term kasi these are very subjective volatility and to the mercy of Bitcoin talaga. But when it comes, of course, to the two leaders, Bitcoin and Ethereum, I think it definitely is. Again, NFA, not financial advice, but ako personally, I've been buying over the past few days given the market fiascos. And as a very big avid supporter of the Web3 space, actually natutuwa ako not to see Bitcoin at 16,000 kasi I've been shouting 15,000 Bitcoin for the past few months. As a half joke, half seryoso ako. Pero to see it actually manifest on the charts right now, it's pretty cool. Kasi again, like I said kanina, it's like buying Bitcoin at a steep discount back in history. And that was something that people always longed for during the bull markets na nasa 30, 40, 50,000 a Bitcoin. Right? Right now, for context din, Bitcoin is currently at 300 million market cap, or 300, ano ba to? 300 million, tama, 300 million market capitalization. So that is a very small amount of capital to this specific asset. When it comes to Ethereum naman, that is around 144 million. Again, napakaliit po ng industriya. It shrunk again because of the recent crash. So I think definitely it's time to hold it for the long term. But again, NFA. So
Yeah, since long-term investing naman siya, I think most of the time, it's a good time to start peso cost averaging. Sabi nga nila, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but the second best time is now.
All right. So we have another question from Abel. So will there be any NFTs, Web3, or crypto talks in the summit? So I think
para
this one's
sa
for
ate,
me.
mas
Yeah. All right. So guys, just a reminder, we're having some crypto experts in the Investor Summit this year. So one of them is Marquisco, and I know other speakers will also be tackling crypto. So there are other dedicated speakers, and I think some of the traditional traders will also be covering some lessons or some insights in crypto. So if you want to learn more about Investor Summit, then of course you can go to our website. So here you can go to this landing page to view all of the details for the Investor Summit. So all right, moving on to the next question. So this one's from Van. So Van's asking, given that you've mentioned long term, so what's your take on mutual funds? So do you own one, and do you think it's still advisable for people to invest in mutual funds, even for those who knows trading or but don't have time yet to do so?
yeah, yes, because that's exactly why naman mutual funds were created in the first place, to give investors a diversified portfolio without having to actively manage it, right? So if you guys are the type of investors na walang oras, talaga to just look at the charts every now and then yeah. But in my opinion as well, if you know naman how to buy and sell on exchanges, then I think that would be a better way as well. A better way instead of buying mutual funds. Kasi these of course, number one, less fee siya compared to buying MFs. Number two, you get to actually choose your positions for long term compared to mutual funds. So mas cut siya for your liking and whatnot. And number three, meron naman tayong FMET for the local stock market, which is the index, right? So it operates like a mutual fund, but a little more active lang. So this is more angkop for you, I think, Brother Van, if you know naman how to trade. But again, I'm into crypto and Web3, so wala akong mutual funds. I used to do it back then before nag-crypto. Pero nung na-discover ko yung crypto space, I was like, oops, okay, goodbye mutual funds, medyo goodbye stocks, Web3 na ako. Because I really like the risk-reward ratio here and the potential growth dito sa space na to. Yeah?
Yeah, for me naman, I think mutual funds are good assets to diversify kasi there are professional fund managers who are managing your money in different assets. I guess a piece of advice lang would be to check the assets managed or ano yung ino-offer ng fund. Let's say, if you're already a stock investor, ang preferred mutual funds mo would be mutual funds that are being managed in, let's say, foreign currencies or bonds. So yun yung mga securities under their funds. In that way, parang nakaka-diversify kayo into other markets without you having to actually take the time or take the trouble to learn these markets. So parang yung mga professionals na bahala doon, you stick to what you know, or you stick to what you're good at. And yeah, like what Jiro said, I also suggest an index tracking fund. Kasi an index tracking fund just tracks the PSEI. So it's less fees, it's less commissions. If you're trading on the PSE, by the way, when you're considering mutual funds. If you're considering mutual funds to the US, I think there are other index tracking funds as well. But for the PSE, it's FNETF. So you can use an index tracker fund when considering investing in mutual funds.
All right. Thank you for that answer. It's getting kind of late, so maybe let's tackle like the last three questions. So for this one, medyo similar siya to another question or maybe parang relatable siya. So Maria's asking, with the recent crypto events, so are we expecting massive amounts of regulations in the crypto space given that yun nga, drama with FTX and stuff?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in my opinion, I feel like 90% chance na talagang the Terra Luna stuff and the FTX fiasco will be used as ammunition by the regulators in the US and abroad uh, to further clamp down on cryptocurrencies. Kaya din talaga, kahit si CZ nagsabi, like even though they lost one of their biggest competitors, which is FTX, it's still a loss overall for Binance as this really shakes up confidence when it comes to investors and confidence from lawmakers in general. So yeah, I think there is a lot talaga that may be coming negative implications with all of this. But again, like I said kanina, in the long run, all of this is noise. And this will just further strengthen lang naman what is or what crypto will be in the future, right? Again, NFA. So, pero yeah. Ikaw, Vince.
Yeah, actually, that's a really good question. Hindi ko siya masyadong na-consider into taking into account yung FTX and Binance fiasco. So yeah, I think there will also be more regulations coming into the space. And right now, kasi there's an existing legal case between XRP, diba? So I think that also might become affected. Although XRP is kind of winning their case, there's no doubt that the FTX and Luna events will play their parts into this case.
All right. And then there's another question from Kevin. So this one's the second to the last question that we'll take for tonight. So what indicators are you personally using for your trading purposes?
For me, when it comes to sideways markets, because I don't really use much indicators. I like to stick lang to the traditional patterns like wedges, tsaka mga supports and resistances. The one indicator I do use a lot is the bull market support band by Benjamin Cohen. So this is a combination basically of the 21-week EMA and the 20-week SMA on the weekly time frame. So this one has proven to be an effective indicator kasi for showing pivots when it comes to these swings between bulls, upswings and downswings rather, and general bull and bear markets. To my knowledge, it had or rather around an 85% accuracy or 90% when it comes to predicting or showing these signs overall. So yeah, I try to stick as simple as possible talaga. If you look at my trading view, halos wala talagang nangyari aside from cute yellow lines and whatnot. But yeah, yun lang naman for me. I think Vince has more indicators to share.
Yeah, personally, medyo basic lang din yung indicators ko. It's just your usual price, yung price patterns, volume, EMAs. So I use EMA 9, 20, 50, and 100 to determine dynamic support and resistances, and RSI. So normal setting lang ng RSI. Marami kasi out there that's using different settings, like pinapalitan yung length or may hinahalo pang indicator on top of RSI. So I kind of just use the default one, and also Fibonacci levels.
All right. And to add to that, I guess I can share one of Instagram's relatively newer features that we made. So let me share my screen.
Bullish.
All right. So here it is. So kita naman siya, no?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Ay,
So
medyo may nakasegment siya, brother.
ano
Parang
sa
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
parang
So one of our,
Bitcoin.
it's not really super new, but then we released it sometime around last year, I think. So this one's for Instagram's Prime users. So if you subscribe to our Prime subscription, you can gain access to this volume profile tool. So what's really cool about this feature is that aside from knowing the volume of your candlesticks, you can also sort of have a better view on how much volume was traded per price. So, ayun, it's a cool feature lang that actually most of us use rin with our trading. So, yeah, just wanted to share that. So,
Actually,
moving
very
back
good indicator yan. I like
to
that, Vin.
yeah.
Yeah, actually, I've been meaning to use that indicator din. Kasi ang difference niya with volume, volume just tells you na, oh, there's a lot of activity at this current day or at this current candle. Pero yung volume on price, sinasabi niya, there's a lot of volume at this current price. So,
Yeah.
doon mo masiseparate ka agad saan ba yung may heavy supply or saan ba yung may heavy demand. Not just on the particular day or the particular candle na medyo vague or medyo malaki yung pagde-decide.
Yeah, so it's a really solid feature and you guys can try it out.
Yun.
So,
Cool.
for the last question, so Flordaliza is asking, so hello guys, so what are your thoughts about our PSEI market this coming month of December? And do you think, are we going to have a good market in December?
Ako talaga, like, I'm gonna be honest, I haven't been following the PSE that much compared to crypto over the past few months. So, masasabi ko dito sa limited knowledge ko lang. But overall, to my knowledge din talaga, it will really just follow global liquidity. Like what Vince said, kasi we are at the mercy of the dollar din as an economy sa Pilipinas, given that our trade deficit is huge when it comes to imports and exports, right? So, overall, I would expect that we just follow suit, of the UX stock market, which I expect to be good again mga next year pa. Maybe late Q1 or early Q2 based on projections on when the Fed will reverse or will soften up their interest rates and whatnot. But yeah, that's my POV. You, Vince?
Yeah, Jira actually captured yung concept yung sa global liquidity, and that's also my current view when it comes to the PSEI. I think it also depends on what's your definition of a good market. Kasi historically, when we're in a bull market, sa month ng December, almost always positive yung uh, PSEI. So parang alam ko naging statistic yun or may nag-backtest when it's a bull market, parang 100% of the time, up talaga siya kapag December. But right now, we're kind of in a bad market. And while December might be a good month, parang good month siya in relation to, I guess, all the other months lang. So, PSEI might be up this December, but it might not be up as much considering yung current market structure natin for the index.
All right. So, adding lang rin to the stuff mentioned about liquidity. So, a big factor right now rin kasi with the markets is yung interest rates. So, as interest rates go up, so naturally bababa yung liquidity in the markets and in the economy. Recently, the BSP hiked rates by a big 75 basis points for our standards, and of course, you can expect that eventually that will have a negative factor on the markets, given that liquidity is one of the biggest, if not the biggest driver of prices. So, in lang for that question. And sadly, we have to end our live stream since we can't keep on going on forever. So, on the last, sorry. So, can you give your last words to the audience, Jiro and Vince?
Ako, for me, stay patient lang talaga for these markets. It will be a tough, long, and even extended bear market due to recent developments of Web3. Pero patience talaga will get you very far when it comes to these current market conditions. And on a personal note, buy Bitcoin. NFA though, NFA, pero buy Bitcoin kasi in the next 5 to 10 years talaga, it is very, very hard to think that it will not be 15,000 at this point. Hopefully in the good way, right? But yeah, stay patient and talaga manage your risk always. Always diversify your holdings even when it comes to stable coins. Napaka-importante nun. And of course, just take it step by step. Don't go aping in any shitcoin or whatever altcoin dyan. just because someone said it's good or nice, right? These conditions really are not meant for altcoins or NFTs even. So yeah, stay safe lang talaga. Kasi it's a brutal market and one of the toughest that I've endured in my career so far. But yeah, kaya yan. With puso lang.
For me naman, my advice for traders is to tread lightly kasi we're living in very volatile and choppy environments as mentioned. Ang dami nangyayari this year. Cryptocurrency market pa lang. So yung Luna, FTX, yung mga stable coins, ang daming events, ang daming consider alongside the developments. So tread lightly when it comes to your trades, always respect risk and manage your position sizes. For investors naman, it's to stay the course. So although prices may look like it's the end of the world or you might not believe currently in the current prices, that's up to you to decide. Kasi if naniniwala ka talaga sa potential ng asset or ng security, then investing will always be a good choice to consider.
All
Yeah.
right. So, with that note, I'd like to thank our guest speakers, so Jiro and Vince. If you wanna check out their platform, you can do so at this link. So, solid yung platform nila. It's an edutech platform where you can really learn a lot about the basics of crypto and Web3. All right. So, and of course, thank you to the audience who joined us tonight. So it's kind of late already. And if you wanna see more content, if you want to learn more lessons on trading, on investing, on crypto, and in general the financial markets, so you can check out the Invest Summit. So we have a star-studded lineup of speakers. You can check out our link if you want to learn more about what they have to offer. And with that, thank you to everyone who joined. Hope you have a good rest of your evening. So good night, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. Good evening sa inyo lahat. Stay safe.
Thank you. Salamat, Investa.
Thank you, Investa. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.